Good evening, and welcome to the Poets Cafe. It is where artists comes alive. The spoken word brings forth the inner creation of hidden treasure, expressing tones of lyrics felt within the soul, vibration that brings stories untold. This platform represents artists of all backgrounds, be it writers, singers, spoken word, artistic expression, and painting, literature, poetry, and a journey through life. Mystery seeks to bring new ideas and opportunities through the mind at all levels. We walk by the calls of nature and sing in harmony while praying for the love of the skies and dancing with the stars, like a feminine ballerina gazing across the stage in her soft-toed ballerina shoes. Welcome to the Artists of Poetry Cafe show, Poetically Speaking, hosted by Terry Benjamin and Ron C. McCrae. Delighted as we are, we can't wait to engulf a new wave of representing this platform for our audience. So sit back and enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Now, let's get started.
Okay, let's get started. Let's do it. For those of you who are seeing this for the first time, I hope that you'll stick with us throughout the program and that you come back next week. And we're here 2 days a week. We're here every Thursday from 6 to 7 and every Sunday from 5 to 6. So again, we invite you to come in to the Poets Cafe.
So let me take this opportunity to read a short poet piece. This is the title of this book is Hobbies, Habits, and Other Hidden Hang-Ups by Terry Sharice Davis, a poet. She's an author, and she's an educator. And I'd just like to read one little piece for us and for you.
Okay.
Looking into your eyes tonight, I say, some days I wish I could handle everything about you. Some days I wish I could handle you. Some days I wish I could handle everything. Some days I wish I could handle. Some days I wish I could. Some days I wish I. Some days I wish. Some days I. Some days. Some. So. Shh. So, this morning while looking at your back, I say, some days I wish I could handle everything about you. And so if you take that and look at it from a different perspective, have you ever think about yourself? Did you look at yourself even before you went to sleep, laying in bed, thinking about looking at you from your backside or with your mate?
Yeah, right.
You never know. Some days I wish.
Yeah, some days are better than others. You know, when you're in a long-term relationship, every day is not sunshine and roses, you know. So you have to understand that nobody's perfect. And so we have our good days and we have our bad days. But I guess it goes always back to self-awareness. The more you're aware of yourself, the more you're aware of your feelings and emotions, the better you can deal with it. And that's why we encourage you to write your own poetry, to deal with your emotions. So what made you decide to recite that piece?
You know, it's interesting because even since we started and each and every day, it gives each person to reflect on yourself. Because, again, everyone's not in a relationship.
That's right.
And prayerfully, we like to think everybody's in a good relationship. But if it's a not good relationship, then you have to think about yourself to bring joy, creativity, you know, self-awareness, as you indicated.
Yes.
And that's what's important.
Yeah.
Because, again, even a lonely, dark room don't want to accompany or want to be around somebody who's also gloomy and dreary and whatnot. So that's what's important. So even when you're by yourself and you're thinking about the what if, but thinking about you, you know, someday I wish I could handle, or someday, you know, if I look behind and see you. You is you, not somebody else. Because again, we're talking about those who may be single.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
Yeah, it's just a lot of people. Yeah.
That's right. It's bringing sunshine into your life.
Yeah. Again, we both know Terry personally, you know, so she's a good friend and colleague, you know. So again, we really are privileged to share that with you from her book. And what's the name of that book again, Ron?
Hobby habits and other hidden hang-ups. You know, from the front lines of womanhood.
Right.
And so, and it's really, it really delves into, as we were just saying, and even if you looked at this book and you was to order this book or get this book somehow, or even hopefully and prayerfully you have the opportunity to speak with the author.
That's right.
You know, looking at it from her perspective as she was writing her story, her poetry, to engage and to touch bases with other women. You know, and it's for all, and you know, it's really for men to look at it too from a woman's perspective.
Of course, yeah.
But it's to get you, you know, your hobby habits and other hidden hang-ups. You know, and that's what's important. So again, from Dr. Terry Sharice Davis.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. You know, again, like I said, we want you to understand there's a lot of poets out there, and especially. We plan, especially in February, Black History Month, we're going to bring a lot of people on live that you can actually not only hear them, but also see them. And so we got a lot of good things planned for Black History Month because, again, it's a special month. But, you know, basically every day is Black History Month for us. But, we want to let you know you got some good things to look forward to.
You know, I want to... read another short piece, which is interesting. I found this interesting because, again, I think about me looking at it, again, from a woman's perspective, but looking outward. Yeah. I am fascinated with myself, not with you, nor him, certainly not with her, and definitely not with them, but with myself, finally. It's interesting, you know, even when you think about it, although it's short, but there's a big message in there. And that's what's important. I am fascinated with myself. How often do people take time to look at that and think about it?
That's right.
You know, too many get in the mirror and whatnot and say, I look good and this and that. But really think, I am fascinated with myself. Yeah, you know, it's also...
That's a statement.
That's exactly. A statement. Yeah. You know, sometimes you stand around, you be thinking, you start laughing, and you look around trying to find out who's laughing at me, or who's looking at me. That's right, yeah. And it doesn't mean everybody's crazy. It just means that I am fascinated with myself.
Yes. We are, as they say, we are beautifully, amazingly made. You know, we are perfectly imperfect. But again, I don't know about you, but I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference. Yeah, because we're at the age where, a lot of our peers and family have passed on, but you know we're here to carry on, and so that's why we invite you to spend this time with us because again, the time is precious, and the older you get, the more precious it is.
And you know it's interesting because I know you're going to touch on. And before I read the next piece, I'd like to say this. This is extremely important, and even what you said. Yeah. Life is precious. This moment is precious. Everyone around us is precious. That's right. That's even the ones you may be mad at, angry at, even some of the ones you don't even like. You know, what's important is how precious is life in itself.
It's very precious. Yeah.
And as we know, tomorrow is Dr. King's birthday.
Yes.
And so not so much of the celebration in itself, but understanding the legacy, the journey, you know, tumultuous situation that you and I that may not have been there, and some may have. Yes, but nevertheless, those who have heard and understood what that journey was like.
That's right.
And I'm not going to get into it because I know this, you know, Terry's going to bring more to you about in reference to that.
Yeah.
But I have a dream.
That's right. Still
So-
have a dream. Yeah.
But let me shift a little bit and give you something to, I like to believe. Matter of fact, I know you're going to get a little sense of humor at this
Yes,
and give you something to think about.
It's humorous.
You know? And I'm guarantee you that the average do not and have not thought about. And I wrote it because I experienced it from a different perspective.
That's right.
And the title of this one is, Do You Feel Like a Chair? I repeat, do you feel like a chair? Everyone home and those who are looking at us and we're sitting in the chair and you're sitting in the chair, but do you feel like a chair? A chair is one of the most supportive elements one can impose upon. It is there to comfort you, hold you, even embrace various features without any complaints. And you know what I mean. The stabilization supports the most brutal of its kind, yet it never complains about the movements. But how many people thank a chair for its support? Have you thought about the last chair you sat in? Shifted, twisted, even changed the pattern of the CO2. But the chair never complains, nor screams. Why do you? Can you hear the pain in the legs squeak, in the back crack, or joints as the bolts twist and snap? Yet, it continues to support the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Now, would you find yourself such strong? Where would you find such strong support? You get up, you kick it, you shove it, you push it, you turn it over, you stand on it, yet never giving a thought as to the cause of your lack of concern for the very chair that supported you. When you needed to sit, cry, lean, sleep, or rest, meditate, and the list goes on. And you never said thank you for all that it stands for and done. Have you? Or thought about restoring it, painting it, tightening the legs, the joints, covering it from the harsh weather condition, causing it, respecting it as if it was one of your own, or did you just take for granted that it is there just because you think it should? What would you do if that chair dumped on you, sat on you, twisted its legs in you, past gas without saying, excuse me, pardon me for the lack of awareness. I took you for granted as you did too. Maybe I'll just stand on your rack, just stand on your rock, stand on your and rock you, push you over, pick you up, throw you down, jump on you, or toss you around and around. You see, you feel when you are thrown to the ground. Do you feel like a chair?
Just goes to show how many things we take for granted. Just think about that. A chair, and how it supports you in many different ways, and we just take it for granted. Like you said, we throw it around here and there and everywhere, and we never really take time out to understand how important a chair can be.
Absolutely. Without a chair, we'll either be standing or sitting on the ground.
That's right.
But appreciate and respect that chair, furniture.
Yeah, it's true, and that's why, again, we talk about things that we take for granted, like a penny. You know, people throw pennies in a jar, throw pennies away, not realizing that, you know, pennies can add up to dollars and beyond that. But my brother mentioned a few moments ago that tomorrow is Dr. King Day, you know, a day that's celebrated with many different accolades, marches and rallies and coming together to celebrate this great man. But, that holiday came at a price of people really standing up and saying we want this to happen. It wasn't given to us. It's something that we had to work for. And this book here that I have, it's by Gil Scott-Heron. It's called The Last Holiday. It's a memoir. It's about the fact that Gil got together with Stevie Wonder. They did different rallies and to get the idea of Dr. King holiday. And this book, The Last Holiday, is a memoir of Gil Scott-Heron, the poet, the singer, the songwriter. And I'd like to share with you a poem that Gil wrote for Dr. King. And this poem is very special to me because, again, it tells the story of a very, very great man. And this is Dr. King by Gil Scott-Heron. He says here, I admit that I never had given much thought as to how much of a battle would have to be fought to get most Americans to agree and then say that there actually should be a black holiday. But what a hell of a challenge. How far would Stevie go to make them pass legislation tabled 10 years in a row? I didn't doubt for a second that the brother was sincere, but how many minds have come together in the last 12 years? How many folks recognized that America had to grow? And who else could convince them that yes, they had to go? I had liked the idea of a minister being around when racing for high stakes to have his foot near the brakes because of what truly could have gone down. I thought America would have blown up before it could ever be said we had grown up. And for whatever reason, were there Americans who never knew that Dr. King prevented chaos and would give him his due. I admired Stevie's enthusiasm and that he spoke his mind, but right does not triumph over wrong every time. Gandhi took nonviolence with him when he died. Over here, there was nonviolence, but only on one side. When white folks beat up and killed people that you knew, you might direct your anger at a building or two. Instead of making the Old Testament a civil rights guide and saying that an eye for an eye would now be justified, we were told to accept that some white folks had no class. And instead of condemning white people en masse, we were told remaining peaceful would be the best thing. And directing that philosophy were men like Dr. King. Through a storm of provocation to fight, we saw that in order to change America, we must change the law. They called us militants and radicals and were made to look bad, trying to secure rights all Americans had. But behind what's often written is where you find the real thing. So America might not have made it without Dr. King. And again, this is a very important thing because, again, what Dr. King did, he brought an awareness that we were living in some very terrible times. And again, it seems like those terrible times are coming back again. But again, because Dr. King showed how to do it that first time, I think we can do it again. And my brother, my question to you is, what does Dr. King Day mean to you personally?
What Dr. King Day means to me, and I say this in the most sincere manner, I look at Dr. King as I reflect back on our history. Mm-hmm. You know, it becomes so sincere, dedicated, and commemorative to understand what one has went through in conditions unimaginable to many today. And see, to me, so much is taken for granted and taken out of context rather than understand the footsteps, mm-hmm. the journey, the condition, the mindset for freedom. Right. And so I ask you, what is freedom? Yeah. You see, freedom to me is knowing that I have the right to be treated right, mm-hmm. to be able to move like flowers, like the wind that you breathe. You see, freedom to be able to go and do without being harassed or harsh under harsh conditions, without being accused, to me is what's important. So I take Dr. King's birthday, mm-hmm. Seriously. Matter of fact, I was there the day Stevie Wonder Wonders sung their song down in Washington, D.C. I left work to go down to Washington, D.C., and it was cold outside. It was snow outside. And honestly, I had sneakers on.
You weren't ready.
I was ready, but wasn't ready. But I was serious about going there to be there. And so even as, the indication and the dialogue and whatnot, even when Stevie came and sang the song, something went through me. Something went through me so sincere. Happy birthday.
That's right. Happy birthday to
You
you.
see, so his birthday tomorrow, to commemorate his legacy, is more than just a holiday just to say, well, I went to Dr. King. No, it's about remembering what took place for us to be here today. That's how I look at it. Because, I take it serious.
Okay. I heard
because
that.
you hear the negativity here and there, whatnot. And the system want you to forget about Dr. King, as well as you already know, or many know, the system wants you to forget about your history.
That's right.
But yet and still, the history is being repeated from Dr. King even till now. You see it all on a regular basis. Even on the news. It's still being repeated. So what's important is, as it was asked to me, how do I receive it, take it? We say to you, how do you see it, and how do you take it? Because in the same token, it's important to understand the legacy.
That is so true. And again, he has left a great legacy. This is one man will never be forgotten because of his life and because of his message. And speaking of messages, this segment of the program we call the Poet Spotlight. And what we do is we go to our wall back there, and there's people on that wall that we want to remember who have left the legacy. And this evening, we're going to spotlight Maya Angelou. Again, a woman who left a great impact on the society. And we're going to hear her read one of her poems. And this is a beautiful thing because, again, like I said before, is that it's nice to read the poetry of these great poets that we have here on the wall, but it's even better to hear them read their own poetry in their own voice. And so with that said, this is Maya Angelou.
Life doesn't frighten me. I wrote this poem for all children who whistle in the dark and who refuse to admit that they're frightened out of their wits. Shadows on the wall, noises down the hall. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Bad dogs barking loud, big ghosts in a cloud. That doesn't frighten me at all. Mean old Mother Goose, lions on the loose, they don't frighten me at all. Dragons breathing flame on my counterpane, that doesn't frighten me at all. I go boo, make them shoot. I make fun, way they run. I won't cry, so they fly. I just smile, and they go wild. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Tough guys in a fight, all alone at night. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Panthers in the park, strangers in the dark, no. They don't frighten me at all. That new classroom where boys all pull my hair, they don't frighten me at all. Kissy little girls with their hair in curls, they don't frighten me at all. Don't show me frogs and snakes and listen for my screams. If I'm afraid at all, it's only in my dreams. I have got a magic charm that I keep up my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. Life doesn't frighten me at all. Not at all. Not at all. Life doesn't frighten me at all.
It's Maya Angelou. Life does not frighten me at all. And that's really a good good affirmation, a good mantra. You know, again, when I hear that poem and I hear her read it, and I think about life, you know, life. Sometimes people have big dreams, Ron, but they are afraid to really realize those dreams, man. They wait for the perfect time. They wait for the perfect situation, and they let life frighten them. They let life hold them back. But I look at life, and I look at it as an acronym that I heard some time ago about life. And life is living in freedom every day. Life, L-I-F-E, living in freedom every day. And if you do that, you won't let life frighten. As a matter of fact, there is another saying that they say, Ron, they said, you know what, you're afraid, okay? Like, I think Les Brown might have said this. He said, feel the fear, but do it anyway, okay? So, brother, you let life frighten you?
Oh, absolutely, on a regular basis. I'm scared of life.
Life is scary.
But you know, when you look at that, even though I expressed that and the question was asked, when you think about it, there's two parts. There's a negative and a positive.
That's right.
You see, if you're afraid, the question is, what are you afraid of? If you're standing alone, looking at yourself out the window and you see nothing but life, what are you afraid of?
Right.
When life in itself is inviting you, come walk with me, come talk with me,
Please,
look all around what I have given you.
Yes, yeah.
That's what life is. So the question is, am I afraid? Absolutely not, because we have a pathway to journey through. You have a mission. You may not know exactly where you're going, how you're going to get there, and you may not even understand your purpose. But the point is, it's only when you stop walking forward and stop looking at yourself from getting better and stronger and stop realizing who's in control, because life was created by a higher power.
That's right. That's right.
And so if you forget him and you take focus off of him, you take focus off life. And then the only thing you're looking at is the distraction of yourself. I'm afraid. And even the term, the word itself says, are you afraid? Why are you afraid?
Yeah.
Come on out. And you're scared because you don't even know who's speaking to you.
Yeah.
But you're afraid.
Yeah.
So no, I take life serious, and I try to take each step and continue to move forward.
You have to. And again, I mean, and fear is not a bad thing. I mean, I use my fear as energy. You know, it's giving me it gets me moving. You know, I'm anxious, but I'm nervous, but that's energy. You know, and again, fear, F-E-A-R, sometimes is false appearances, false. What is it? False. Appearances that seem real, you know, it's not real, but you look at it and you let it sort of stop you. And again, I think if I had any success in life, was that I let my fear fuel me, and I let it be a thing that, you know, although I'm fearful, I know if I can get past this fear, I'm going to really have something good. Okay, so I look at the other end of the fear and what would be the outcome.
And you know, there's also, to tie into that, there's a limit to everything, but it's you, how you see it. And I'll share this with you.
Yeah, please.
Because all of us have some fear of something. Okay, there's something is outside of life, but it's something that you want to either showcase or try and impress somebody. But you don't impress somebody else unless you're impressing yourself. I think one of the things also, bungee jumping. I thought about it many times in the past, but I realized for me to jump off a high bridge at my ankles and have this rubber band pull me with the hope and prayer it doesn't snap.
Oh,
You
please.
see, so I said, you know what? That's one of the things I'm not going to do. You know, one of the other things too is that I always thought about, and I still think about skydiving.
Oh no!
Because you have to
please.
look at what's freedom and joy that brings to you, but you also have to think about, you know, whatever the possibility is. And just in short, I remember years ago, I was at AT&T, and I had prepared myself to go skydiving. So the instructor who was giving it the day before, I asked him, what are the chances? He said, well, 99.
99, but I'm thinking that 1%. You know.
So I said, you know what? And that was the day before. So I said, well, I'll wait. But it comes back periodically because, again, if you're going to enjoy life, you have to take chances. But you have to understand what chances you're taking. You can be an explorer, but don't be crazy about exploring anything and everything. You have to know your limits and where you're going to go, what you're going to do. So one of my bucket lists now is that, yes, ultimately or eventually, I'm going to go skydiving.
Uh-oh. I'll pray for you. I won't join you, but I'll pray for you. I said, my brother, please, you know, come home safely. And it's so funny, and I just want to revisit that fear because I messed that up in terms of what I was trying to say, you know. But that's the thing, you know. This is live. It's live radio. So again, fear, false expectations appearing real. Okay, false expectations. If I do this, I'm going to pass out. Or if I do this, I'm going to not be successful. But again, don't let fear stop you, okay? It's a small word. And again, it's okay to be fearful because it's something new. But look at the fear as excitement. And that's the message that we want to get to you. And also in the poem that Maya Angelou wrote for children. You know, because children are sometimes afraid of every little thing. They're afraid of shadows in the room. But again, we have to understand that we have to get past our fears. And it's so funny because, you know, people are blocked because of fear of failure. But there's another interesting thing that sometimes people are afraid of success. They have fear of success because sometimes when you're successful, you're going to have to maybe develop a whole new social environment. You know, again, you know, that's so funny when you get into a new environment, you want to make sure that you're comfortable. So you're going to do everything that you can, but you don't really learn how to navigate that unless you really get involved into it. And Ron, you know, as well as all writers know, that you might have an idea, but that idea is not going to be developed until you get into it. And that's why, you know, I always say that, you know, if you have an idea, write it down. Because once you write it down, you can really, you can really make it grow.
And, you know, along that same line, what's interesting, too, and I want to go back to, because I thought about this when Maya Angelou was speaking about children. The average child does not and is not afraid. You know, when they appear to be afraid because something was created. But as a whole, a child is not afraid. A child is not afraid to tell the truth about their parents and what's going on in their adult life.
That's right.
No, I saw you.
I
You
saw
said this. You know,
sometimes they say too much, right?
exactly. So, you know, you tiptoe. So, look, I ain't going to say that because that child going to tell everything.
Right,
no, I saw you. But there's a scripture also in the book of Matthew, I think it's 25. And it says to be as innocent as a child.
That's right. That's right.
You know, to be as innocent as a child. Paul said the exact same thing. When I was a child,
right.
I done childish things, but when I became an adult, I put away childish things. Now, there's a difference between understanding the child within.
That's right.
It means you're supposed to enjoy yourself. Right. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to act ridiculous as an adult.
No.
You know,
no,
that's what's
outgrow
important.
that, yeah.
So to be as innocent as a child, and as Maya Angelou expressed, as you heard about a child, you know, children. So when you reflect yourself, the inner you, to reflect on that child, you can see the innocent.
That's right.
And this other thing I wanted to say too, to go back to what you were just expressing about fear. Fear in this program here is what we're trying to deliver and collaborate with you.
That's right.
About the fear that you may have. Okay, let's help one another work together, because even in the moments of fear, you find yourself scared, but you will also find poetry.
That's right.
Poetry is a story, no matter if it's short, long, whatever. I read a couple of pieces by Dr. Davis, Terry Davis. They were short,
That's right.
but there's a message in
Message,
it.
yeah.
You have a message. What is your message?
right.
Talk to us. Let's come together. We don't have all the answers,
No, we don't.
but let's come together to help pull these pieces together to help you showcase who you are. So this way we know, and you know, I'm not afraid.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I mean, don't let fear hold you back, because again, that fear is just energy to pull you, sort of move you forward. I like to go into another segment of the program, and we call this "Music is Lit," short for "Music is Literature." And in this particular part of the program, I read a song as poetry. And again, because we're still on the theme of Dr. King, and tomorrow Dr. King's Day. And the thing that really sort of blows my mind, Ron, is that he died at age 39. And then also Malcolm X died at the same age, 39. But while he was here, he definitely made an impact, and he made an impact on regular people, but also famous people. This song I'm going to read as a poem is actually recorded by Nina Simone and written by Bobby Taylor. And the name of the poem is "Why the King of Love is Dead." And it reads, "Once upon this planet Earth lived a man humble bound. Preaching love and freedom for his fellow man, he was dreaming of the day peace would come to earth to stay. And he spread his message all across the land. Turn the other cheek, he pled. Love thy neighbor was his creed. Pain, humiliation, death he did not grant. With his Bible at his side, from his folks he did not hide. It's hard to think that this great man is dead. Oh yeah. For the murders never cease. Are they men or are they beasts? What do they ever hope to gain? Will my country be forced to fall? Is it too late for all? And did Martin Luther King just die in vain? 'Cause he's seen and he knew he could not stop, always living with the threat of death ahead. Folks, you better stop and think, 'cause you're heading for the brink. What will happen now that he is dead? He was for equality, for all people, you and me, full of love and goodwill. Hate was not his way. He was not a violent man. Tell me, folks, if you can, just why? Why was he shot down the other day? And he knew that he could not stop, always living with the threat of death ahead. Folks, you better stop and think and feel again, because we're heading for the brink. What's going to happen now that the King of Love is dead? And this is from Nina Simone, and I like Nina Simone so much because she said that the artist is not just here to make music, but also to make statements like this right here. Why? The question, why the King of Love is dead? Ron, do you remember when you heard that Dr. King had been shot? You remember where you were?
Yes, I was in school. I was in grade school, elementary, but I felt the impact, for me, even though in that environment, the school, the teacher, the whole nation at that time. Because for some apparent reason, even though I didn't quite understand who he was, but I listened to, Dr. King, because you heard it repeatedly, Dr. King.
That's right, yeah.
And so when when you heard the call that Dr. King was shot and killed, yes, it went through because I looked at the casualty, the incident, what took place. A person was killed. What happened? And so naturally, prior to that, excuse me, you see people marching and trying to make a difference, only to find out that the person that was shot was trying to help people understand what life, justice, and freedom was all about. So yes, and I still reminisce on that moment as well as all our history in past.
Of course.
And that's what's important.
Yeah. And again, she says here, the King of Love is dead. And that's something that, he spoke about. He spoke about love for fellow man and women, children, and that kind of stuff. And again, we need to come back to that because, again, I really believe that the only way we're going to survive the next 4 years or so is if we come together as a people. And so before we continue with the program, I just want to just stop here and just reiterate what I had said before about developing the habit of literacy. Every day, I want you to, number one, read, to write, listen, talk, and view. Because again, the thing is, during these days, these difficult days, we have to become critical thinkers. We can't believe everything that we read or see. We have to question it, and we have to use our thinking ability. If it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right. So I want to move on with this Music is Lit. And another song that I want to share with you, this is following our theme. Last time we spoke to fatherhood, and we're going to finish that discussion after I read this particular poem song, because fatherhood is very, very important. Our fathers shape us, for better or for worse. They are present in our life, maybe for a long time, maybe for a short time. But again, we have to honor our fathers. As it says in the Bible, honor your mother and your father, and you will live a long life. So we have to honor our father. And this song is really special to me because the first time I heard it, I really captured my attention. And this song was written by Richard Marx and Luther Vandross, and performed by Luther Vandross. And again, this was a song that he sang with great emotion, because it seemed very autobiographical, that this was a song that he was not just singing as someone who was removed from the situation. I get the feeling from interviews that I've heard of him, this song really meant the most to him. And this was the song that was released just before he had a stroke and just before he died. And again, I recommend, in terms of the developing the habit of literacy, like I said, you read, you write, you talk, you listen, but you view. View a good documentary, Never Too Much, by Luther Vandross. And this song is called Dance with My Father, as performed by Luther Vandross. Back when I was a child, before life removed all the innocence, my father would leave behind and dance with my mother and me, and then spin me around till I fell asleep. Then up the stairs he would carry me, and I know for sure I was loved. If I could get another chance, another walk, another dance with him, I'd play a song that would never, ever, ever end. How I love, love, love to dance with my father again. When I and my mother would disagree to get my way, I would run from her to him. He'd make me laugh just to comfort me. Then finally make me do just what Mama said. Later that night, when I was asleep, he left $1 under my sheet. Never dreamed that he would be gone from me. If I could steal one final glance, one final stare, one final dance with him, I'd play a song that would never, ever, ever end. How I love, love, love to dance with my father again. Sometimes I listen outside the door and I hear how my mother cried for him. I pray for her even more than me. I pray for her even more than me. I know I'm praying for much too much, but could you send back the only man she loved? I know you don't do it usually, but dear Lord, she's dying to dance with my father again. Every night I fall asleep. This is all I ever dream. I know you don't do it usually, but Lord, she's dying to dance with my father again. Dance with My Father by Luther Vandross, again, is a very important song. He won a Grammy for this, and when it was awarded to him, he was in the hospital. He couldn't attend because he had a stroke and he was in a coma. But again, there are songs that change lives. There are books that change lives. There are messages that change lives. And I think Luther was a messenger. And I think Dr. King was a messenger. And again, we in this evening with just a brief discussion of father and fatherhood. And again, I just want to open this by saying that my mother and father never married. My mother had me when she was 14 years old. And I'm sure they would talk about, Carol, you're too young to have this baby, but she did have me. And although my mother and father never married, he was always in my life. He always claimed me. I knew who my father was. I spent time with my father. I never lived with my father. But he was the man who encouraged me, and shaped me to be the man that I am. It was him and my uncle, Uncle Horace William Benjamin, who I mentioned before. And the two of them, they were definitely my good examples of manhood and also fatherhood. But what about you, Ron? What does fatherhood mean to you? Did you have examples of a good father or father figure?
You know, what's interesting, excuse me, is that this is a continuation. And let me be clear to all the women, to all the mothers, grandparents, all of our other part. This is not just about men. We're starting on this platform of men, but we also have the same platform and space for women because women are strong. Because we have to look at even the single parents who had to play both roles.
That's right.
I played both roles, but I didn't hold no grudge against the other side. I did what I have to do. And this is what we was talking about the last couple of segments, you know, and I wrote a piece in reference to, a matter of fact, the title when we talked about it, you know, calling him father.
Yes, I remember.
You know, and that's what's important because kids, and I'm going to say kids because male and female, so this is not one-sided to the adults, but we're talking about the kids. The kids are the bond between the two. We all came here through a collaboration of a male and a woman, a father and a mother.
That's right.
And so we look at stability, strength, what's strong, and that is what's missing, in my honest opinion, and what we need. And so, as an example, it doesn't mean that because you didn't see your father every day or every week or this or that. It means that, one, there's a seed inside of you that says, I have my father. I may not have seen my father. I may not know my father, but I have a father. Now, it doesn't take away the father who took the place of the biological father in the midst of that time that he was absent. It means that inside every child, we look for strength. One thing, even when my parents were separated, my father came around. I saw him. He took me get a haircut. He took me get a pair of shoes.
That's right. Yeah.
So to me, even as of now, the only thing that's important to me, I saw my father. I spoke with my father, whether it was all day, every day, the weekend. But what's important is the seed of your thoughts, your feeling, rather than hold the grudge to kill the relationship. Because, as I said before, had it not been for,
That's right.
where would you be? Well, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a man.
That's right. Yeah.
But again, it doesn't take away that father, that brother, that strength, the uncle,
That's right.
somebody
somebody.
who's willing to come in and help you. Even a stranger in the community say, hey, look, I could teach you how to get into sports or whatever.
That's
a
right.
child look for somebody, as Maya Angelou was talking about.
That's right.
And as we spoke about, it's about the strength of a father. And in this case, every single male, regardless of where you at, you have to think about who you are as a father. I ain't talking about some barbaric armor carrier, whatnot. You trying to destroy the world. No, it's you and your relationship, your characteristic as to what constitutes you as a father. So look at your child. Look at the young man. Look at the young lady. Because you is what they look for. It's what they learn from. Stability.
Yeah. And the thing is, I know when I was a young child, and, again, because I didn't have a father in the house, I sort of felt that I was missing something, and so I really sort of latched on to different men in the neighborhood who were showing leadership. Back in that time, the PAL, the Policemen's Athletic League, it was a time you can go to this particular building and they have recreation, have boxing and different things and whatnot, and you can go and have men who would work with you. One of my father figures was my track coach. He really helped me not just in the running but also in life, and we look for that. I think again one of the things that we have to understand that there is so many possibilities that we really we can't realize unless we see somebody doing something. You know, when I decided I wanted to be a writer, I was looking at other writers, you know, and see how they did what they did. And one of the things that was really surprising to me is that when I finally retired, I retired as a college professor, which was amazing because I didn't see too many black college professors. And so I didn't think that was possible for me. But when I did meet other black college professors, I said, well, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe I can be a college professor. And that made all the difference, because sometimes to go forward with what you want to do, you have to look at different examples, and you follow that example to your conclusion. But Ron, again, it's so important, like you said, man, to have men who are men who are the good fathers, the men who step up and take care of their children and their wives. And now I find myself that I'm caring for two elderly parents, and it's almost like a reversal. You're taking care of your parents the way they took care of you. But I only do that, and I only do that with joy, because I had parents who took care of me. So I don't mind being patient with them, because again they showed me a good example. And again, like I said, we're talking about fatherhood today. We're going to talk about motherhood the next program. But again, those of you who are fathers, please take the time to spend with your children. And one of the rewards of being a good father, sometimes you don't always get the accolades or the hand claps and whatnot, but you find out as you go older, especially when your children have children. And one of the things that I really love is I love being a grandfather, because again, I can really direct my grandchildren to have the life that I know that they deserve. So again, fatherhood is very, very important.
And then, sure, with that, which is so true, because before I go there, you have brothers and cousins, male figures. It doesn't matter. But as you just indicated, as you get older, you care for your kids. Your kids will always remember, my father was there, my father was this, my father was that. So if and when that time comes, the seasons change, they have to care for you. You want your kids to come see you, to visit you. And I'm be honest with you, there's nothing worse than, and there's a reality here. There's so many in nursing home, male or female, nursing home, that their family or kids don't come see them, and they don't care. And so even as a child, look at the exact same thing. My father didn't care. He didn't come around. If he cared, how come he didn't spend time with me? So in the exact same manner, life changes, but it doesn't change. It just means that the roles turns around. But the seed you plant and cultivate is the exact same cultivation of that plant, that seed, that flower of that child will always remember, my father was there. My father did this. I have to go see my father, my grandfather, uncle, brother, somebody. Doesn't matter, biological or the male figure that took over, stepped in.
They're making a difference.
You want them to come visit, because there's nothing worse than a child who comes an adult and says, I ain't going, I don't care. But one thing that's important, the exact same regret that you took upon yourself not seeing your kids, the kids grow up to be an adult and regret, because each one of us on any level have to live with that pain and burden that you didn't do just because of an attitude.
Yeah. And the sad thing, I know of people who have the audacity to say, well, I don't speak to my mother anymore. I don't speak to my father anymore. And I just can't understand that, because, again, your mother and your father, they sacrificed for you. I mean, as a matter of fact, your mother gave the ultimate sacrifice, because there are tales of women who had died giving birth. You know, your father, even if he wasn't around as much you thought that he should be around, he still sacrificed for you because he gave you life. And again, one of the things that Ron mentioned is the fact that, you know that you were successful as a parent when you have adult children who want to spend time with you, because they don't have to now, okay? They don't have to spend that time, you know? And it's even better when you can spend time with your adult children and also their children. I spent the afternoon with my twin grandchildren, and I tell you, it's just watch them grow up and watch them express themselves. It is a blessing, and I really feel that I earned that only because I did as much as I could for my son, and I'm doing as much as I can for my grandchildren. So Ron, it's so funny. This program goes so quickly, and so it's almost time to say goodnight. Do you have any final words for our audience out there?
Yeah, just in short, and something was going through me even as you were speaking. And matter of fact, at this moment, I kind of forgot what that thought was, but the sentiment of that is to understand the feeling, the sincere, what life is, the seed. Because again, you can walk away with hatred. You can walk away with dislike. I don't care. I'm not speaking to my mother, as you said.
Yeah, it's sad.
But if nothing else, and I want to say this, even with your negative attitude, this is not all, but with your negative attitudes, how many stop to think about the what if? Had it not been for.
That's right.
My
That's
mother fed me. My father cared for me. Well, we understand there's situations and circumstances that took place and occur because there's many who pass away before you was born or your child.
That's right.
And then unfortunate whether it was a situation that one decided to walk away from. But if nothing else, a seed cannot continue to grow if you keep killing it. So when you have kids and your grandkids, then when they ask you, well, tell us about your parents and grandparents, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
How do you sit there numb at the lips and not knowing what to say? Because you shut your ears and eyes to the future, which is your kids, all because in the present you was mad at your past, whatever that may be. But life is a journey, and the fruitfulness of it is based on learning from the negativity.
That's right.
And in
That's
short,
right.
in Genesis, those who read the Bible, Quran, or the Torah, in the beginning, see, God said, do not eat. You can eat of every tree in this garden, but do not eat of this tree of good and evil. And unfortunately, as sad as it is, it took a hard head to make a soft behind to eat from the tree that was told not to eat from it.
Yeah, we suffered.
But so now today is still the day to continue to learn from your negative, to turn your negative into a positive. And that's what poetry, the artistic, the painter, and the writers, all of that plays a part. Telling your story from where you come from. That's what's important.
Yeah. And the thing is, before we end tonight, my brother here, we're in our 70s. And the thing is that, I think about my legacy. What will my children and children's children think of me? And one of the good things about this program is the fact that they can visit their pop-up. They can see, what I did or what I tried to do. But the thing is that, we all have a legacy, whether it be your personal legacy, whether it be the legacy of men like Brother Malcolm X and Brother Martin Luther King. These are men that will stand the test of time as long as we talk about black men in leadership. We'll be talking about Dr. King and Malcolm X. Because, again, these are men who came through a lot of trials and tribulations. And the thing that really gets me every time I think about it, they died at age 39. I mean, at 39, I was just starting to understand who I was and what I could contribute. So to have that cut off at that certain age is really crazy. And I got a minute or two that I want to give to you, my brother, and just sort of take us out of here.
Yeah, I want to go, excuse me, I want to go back and read this one piece, one paragraph, and what I normally read in our opening statement. And that is, and I want everyone at the sound of my voice to really think about this whole segment, this whole program today, everything we talk about, everything that you listen to and listen for, is what's important because it all makes sense. Yes. If you just take time to think about it and listen to yourself. Okay. So let me read this. Wherefore my time, leaving tomorrow on the wings of yesterday, where birds fly higher than the mystery of dreams never knew. Why do mellow sounds ring silently without ever leaving memories of my lonely blues? Think about that.
Think about it.
You formulate that in such a way to bring memories of something that you may be sitting, regretting, whatever it may be. Even what we presented to you with this evening, this show, Maya Angelou and others.
Yeah.
And even as we move forward into tomorrow, keep this in mind. As of my voice, as of our voice this moment,
Yes.
tomorrow may not be or may not come for somebody. Okay, so in this moment, think about it. If you're near somebody, say hello, how you doing? Just want to say I love you, just call and say hello, because Martin Luther King, I have a dream. But his dream wasn't say, well, tomorrow I'm going to die. No. He was looking for freedom and future. So again, keep that in mind when tomorrow comes. And as we move into that day, I have a dream. What is your dream?
Yes. And on that note, we say good evening to you and hope to see you next week.
Okay.